What if the reason you're not getting rich has nothing to do with how much you earn, but with the fact that you earn a salary at all? Not because salaries are bad, but because something happens the moment you depend on one, something most people never notice. And once it happens, your life doesn't really expand anymore. It stabilizes. And that sounds like a good thing, until you realize that stability might be the very thing keeping you exactly where you are. So the question becomes uncomfortable. Are you working for money, or has the way you earn it quietly started limiting who you can become? Because once your income becomes predictable, something subtle begins to shift. Your decisions start aligning with that predictability, your tolerance for uncertainty shrinks, and without realizing it, you stop moving toward expansion and start moving toward protection. And here's the part most people miss. It doesn't feel like limitation. It feels like maturity. It feels responsible. It feels like you finally understand how life works. But if every decision you make is filtered through safety, then what happens to the part of you that grows through uncertainty? Does it disappear, or does it slowly get suppressed? This is where things stop being about money and start becoming about psychology. Because the real shift is not in your bank account, it's in your perception. You begin to organize your life around maintaining what you have instead of expanding beyond it. And the more you reinforce that pattern, the more natural it feels. So now a deeper question starts forming. If your thinking adapts to protect your income, how much of what you call logic is actually just fear disguised as responsibility? And this is exactly where Friedrich Nietzsche becomes relevant. Not because he talked about salaries, but because he understood something far more dangerous, that the most powerful systems are the ones you don't see, the ones you internalize, the ones that shape your values so deeply that you start defending them without realizing they were never truly yours. And once a system reaches that level, it doesn't need to control you. You control yourself. Now the salary reveals a second layer, because it's not just income, it's structure. It defines your time, your rhythm, your expectations, and slowly your identity. You don't just earn money, you start thinking within the limits that money creates. Your ambition becomes calculated. Your risks become smaller. Your decisions become safer. Not because you lack potential, but because something inside you is trying to protect what already exists. And that creates a paradox. The more stable your life becomes, the less flexible you are to change it. So the question deepens again. Is stability actually helping you grow, or is it training you to stay the same? Because if growth requires uncertainty, and your entire system is built to avoid uncertainty, then where does real change even fit? And if it doesn't fit, does that mean the system is broken? Or that it's working exactly as intended? Because your salary does more than pay you. It tells you what is realistic. It tells you what is too risky. It quietly defines the boundaries of your ambition. And once those boundaries are internalized, you stop seeing opportunities outside of them, not because they don't exist, but because they no longer feel like they belong to you. And this is where the trap becomes invisible. Because now it's not the system holding you back, it's your own perception reinforcing it. So why do people defend this so strongly? Why do capable, intelligent individuals remain inside structures that clearly limit their expansion? Because leaving is not just a financial decision, it's a psychological one. It requires you to detach from an identity that feels safe and step into something uncertain, undefined, and uncomfortable. And for most people, that's more threatening than staying exactly where they are. So they adapt. They adjust their expectations. They redefine success in a way that fits their current reality. They convince themselves that stability is enough. But underneath that adaptation, something doesn't fully settle. There's a tension, subtle but persistent, a sense that there is more, but it remains just out of reach. And instead of confronting that feeling, most people suppress it. Because confronting it would force them to question everything they built their lives around. And this is where the real question begins to take shape. If the salary is not just money, but a structure that shapes how you think, how you decide, and ultimately who you become, then what would happen if you stepped outside of it mentally? Not by quitting your job, not by making reckless moves, but by seeing it clearly. What changes when you stop treating stability as the goal and start seeing it as a constraint? What risks suddenly make sense? What possibilities stop feeling unrealistic? Because maybe the real trap was never your income. Maybe it was the way your income trained you to think. And if that's true, then escaping it doesn't start with earning more. It starts with seeing differently. But once you see differently, you can't go back. And that's where things start to get dangerous, because from this point forward, this is no longer just about money. It's about whether you're willing to question the identity that your entire life has been built on. If your mind is already starting to question the structure, then you're beginning to see something most people never fully articulate, that the system doesn't just pay you, it positions you. And once you are positioned, everything else begins to organize itself around that position. Your goals, your standards, your sense of what is possible, even your definition of success starts adjusting to fit the role you unconsciously accepted. And the more time passes, the harder it becomes to separate what you truly want from what you've been conditioned to accept. Because here's where the loop tightens. It's not just that your income becomes predictable, it's that your thinking becomes calibrated to that predictability. You don't just avoid risk, you stop even recognizing certain opportunities as real options. You look at something bigger, something uncertain, something that demands expansion, and your mind immediately filters it out. Not because it's impossible, but because it doesn't align with the structure you've normalized. And that raises a dangerous question. How many opportunities have you ignored? Not because you couldn't take them, but because they didn't fit the version of yourself you've been maintaining. This is where Nietzsche's perspective cuts deeper, because he argued that most people don't live according to truth, they live according to comfort disguised as truth. They adopt beliefs that make their current existence feel justified, even if those beliefs quietly limit their potential. And if that's happening at a financial level, then your relationship with money is no longer just practical, it becomes psychological, almost philosophical. You're no longer asking, what can I build? You're asking, what fits within what I already am? And those are completely different questions with completely different outcomes. And this is why the salary trap doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like alignment. It feels like you are being realistic, grounded, disciplined. But realism, when filtered through limitation, becomes a form of self-restriction. You start calling your limits logic. You start calling your fears planning. You start calling your hesitation strategy. And the most dangerous part is that no one around you questions it, because they're operating under the same structure, reinforcing the same patterns, validating the same constraints. So now the system doesn't just exist outside of you, it's mirrored in the people around you. But let's go deeper, because this is where the mechanism becomes almost invisible. The salary doesn't just limit your external actions, it reshapes your internal tolerance. Your tolerance for uncertainty shrinks. Your tolerance for delayed rewards weakens. Your tolerance for failure becomes almost non-existent. And without those three elements, expansion becomes nearly impossible. Because growth, real growth, requires you to operate in spaces where outcomes are unclear. Rewards are delayed, and failure is not just possible, but likely. So now we reach a critical contradiction. You say you want more freedom, more income, more control over your life, but your entire behavioral structure is designed to avoid the very conditions required to achieve those things. And this is not a conscious contradiction, it's a conditioned one. You've been trained to seek stability while desiring expansion, and those two forces pull in opposite directions. So what happens? You stay in the middle, not fully satisfied, but not uncomfortable enough to change. And this is where most people get stuck permanently, because they try to solve the problem at the surface level. They try to increase their salary. They try to optimize their job. They try to become more efficient inside the same structure. But that doesn't break the pattern, it reinforces it. Because now you're not just inside the system, you're improving your position within it, which makes it even harder to question. And the more comfortable you become, the less likely you are to disrupt it. So let me ask you something that most people avoid answering honestly. If your income doubled tomorrow, but your thinking stayed the same, would your life actually change in a meaningful way? Or would you simply upgrade your lifestyle while remaining inside the same mental boundaries? Because if the structure of your thinking doesn't change, then more money doesn't create freedom, it creates a more comfortable version of the same limitation. And this is the moment where things start to shift, because now the problem is no longer external. It's not about the job, the market, or the opportunities available to you. It's about the invisible rules you've accepted without questioning. Rules about what is safe, what is realistic, what is too risky, what is not for people like you. And once those rules are internalized, they operate automatically, shaping your decisions before you're even aware of them. So the real question is no longer, how do I make more money? But what part of my thinking is keeping me from stepping outside the structure that limits me? And that's a much more uncomfortable question because it removes the external excuses. It forces you to confront the possibility that the limitation is not your circumstances, but your identity. And here's where it becomes even more uncomfortable. Because if your identity is built around stability, around predictability, around maintaining control, then anything that threatens that identity will feel wrong, even if it's the exact thing you need. Opportunities that could change your life will feel dangerous. Decisions that could expand you will feel irresponsible. And you will resist them, not because they are bad, but because they don't align with who you currently believe you are. Now think about that for a moment. How many times have you felt an impulse to do something bigger, something uncertain, something outside your current structure, and immediately shut it down with a logical explanation? How many times have you convinced yourself that now is not the right time, that you need more preparation, more security, more certainty? And what if that pattern is not protecting you, but containing you? This is the part where most people either lean in or pull away. Because once you start seeing this pattern, it becomes difficult to ignore. You begin to notice how often your decisions are driven by protection instead of expansion. You start recognizing the subtle ways you limit yourself before reality ever does. And that awareness creates tension. Because now you can't blame the system completely, you have to acknowledge your role in maintaining it. And if you've made it this far, it probably means something is already clicking for you. Not fully, not completely, but enough to feel that something isn't as solid as it once seemed. So I want to pause here for a second, not to break the flow, but to anchor this moment. If this is making you see your own patterns differently, if you're starting to question things you've never questioned before, then take a moment to engage with this. Drop a comment with the word aware. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper into this kind of thinking. And leave a like so this message reaches more people who are still trapped in patterns they don't even see yet. And now, let's go even deeper. Because everything we've uncovered so far still operates at the surface of the real issue. We've talked about behavior, perception, identity, but there is something underneath all of that, something even more fundamental, something that explains why breaking out of this structure feels so difficult, even when you understand it. And that something is not fear of losing money. It's fear of losing who you think you are. And once we go there, everything changes. So now, everything comes down to this. Up to this point, you've seen the pattern, how predictability shapes behavior, how behavior shapes identity, and how identity quietly limits what you allow yourself to pursue. But none of that changes anything unless you confront what sits underneath all of it. Because you are not just protecting your income, you are protecting who you believe you are. And this is why breaking out of the salary trap feels so difficult, even when you understand it. It's not a lack of knowledge, it's a resistance to becoming someone different. Because the system doesn't just give you money, it gives you a role, a clear identity, a defined place in the world. And the moment you step outside of that, you lose certainty, you lose familiarity. And for most people, that feels more dangerous than staying limited. So every time an opportunity demands a different version of you, it feels wrong. Not logically wrong, but emotionally uncomfortable. And instead of questioning that feeling, most people obey it. They wait, they hesitate, they tell themselves they need more time, more security, more certainty. But what if that hesitation is not protecting you? What if it's containing you? Because the real trap was never the salary itself. It was the identity built around it. The invisible rules that define what you consider possible, what you consider realistic, what you believe is for you. And once those rules are internalized, you don't need external limitations anymore. You enforce them yourself. This is where everything connects. The reason stability feels right is because it protects your current identity. The reason risk feels wrong is because it threatens it. The reason you hesitate is not because you lack ability, but because your identity is not aligned with the level you're trying to reach. And until that changes, nothing else will. Not your income, not your opportunities, not your results. So the real shift is not external, it's internal. It's the moment you stop asking, what is safe? And start asking, what expands me? It's the moment you stop using your current life as a reference for what is possible and start seeing it as just one version of many. And that moment is uncomfortable because it removes certainty, but it also creates space for something new. And this is where the decision becomes real. Not a dramatic leap, not an overnight change, but small moments where you either reinforce who you are or move toward who you could become. Because the moment your thinking expands, your decisions follow. And once your decisions change, your reality has no choice but to change with them. So now the question is yours. If you can see the pattern, if you can feel that tension, if part of you knows that something here is true, what are you going to do differently? Because understanding this changes nothing unless you act on it. If this didn't just make sense, but made you uncomfortable in a way you can't fully explain, then don't ignore that. That discomfort is exactly where change begins. So instead of just moving on, go down to the comments and write "aware" if you can see the pattern in your own life. Not for me, but to make it real for yourself. And if you're ready to keep questioning the things most people never question, subscribe to the channel and leave a like so this reaches more people who are still living inside structures they don't even realize are shaping them. And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it.